Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Kat Ward.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Folks, I'm so excited. Halloween's just around the corner. What a great way to start spooky season than with my guest for episode 107. He's a longtime friend and returning guest, Paul Ieson. Paul started out with a show I used to listen to called Black Swamp Digital Radio. That's where I started my narrating. Paul, aka Arizona Tramp, chose me to be his weird news girl. I was terrified, but I did it for a while and loved it. And he also had me co-host with him a few times way before I started my show. Again, I was terrified, but he worked hard on getting me out of my shell. So thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate you. He's also been busy working on novels. You can find his books, Immortals Among Us, Life as a Human, and Tales from the Black Swamp, a paranormal soup of the supernatural and macabre. You can find them on Amazon. In this episode, Paul talks about some paranormal encounters he's had. We reminisce about the days of Black Swamp Radio, and we also talk about his books and what he's currently working on. Before we get to the show, here's a true listener-submitted story submitted by MJ Horncastle. This happened when I was 16, back in 1983. I was having a lot of anxiety issues at the time, but no one knew because I never talked about it. It's why the bad spirits attached themselves to me. I remember going to bed one night, and as I was just about to fall asleep, I heard voices whispering in my ear. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but it was as if they were crouched down beside my bed and inches away from my face. I felt frozen in place as the voices got louder, and the sound was like nails on a chalkboard. I was terrified. I didn't want to open my eyes because I was scared of what I might see. I finally was able to get the blankets over my head, and the voices went away. But they came back. Almost every night. I can't remember how long it went on for, a month or two, but they didn't just disturb my sleep. I felt them behind me as I stood at the sink washing dishes, and I kept looking back, expecting to see a ghost or something fly at me. I only felt comfortable if my back was against a wall. Then one day, my mom had a group of friends in, and she had invited a psychic over to do readings for everyone. I wasn't expecting to have one done. However, she took one look at me and asked me to sit down. The first words out of her mouth were, "You have some bad entities around you. They have connected to your low energy and won't let go. You need to tell them that they are no longer wanted, and you can't be scared of them anymore. They are feeding off your fear." I wasn't going crazy like I thought. I felt such relief, like I could breathe again. So, the next time I heard the voices near my head as I was trying to fall asleep, I told them, "You need to leave me alone. Get away from me." It seems to me that it didn't take long for them to go once I was able to get in a better headspace and no longer be in fear of them. Not sure how many there were, but I always felt like there were around 3 or 4. That's my story. Well, one of them. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like me to narrate your paranormal encounter, just drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. And if you enjoy the show, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. You can find the show on the second and last Sunday of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find me on YouTube, Podbean, KPNL Digital Network on Thursday nights, and any place you find fine podcasts. Now, on with the show. Hello, Arizona Tramp. Welcome back to Paranormal Heart.
Good evening.
Blah, blah.
Blah, blah. Well, it is October.
It is. Spooky season. How have you been?
Oh, well, I'm alive. I'm here.
Well, that's good.
I've just been, doing stuff, writing novels, riding my bike,
Yeah.
motorcycle, that kind of thing, taking care of the house stuff.
Still with the house stuff.
Still with the house stuff. Can't avoid it.
Nope. I remember when you were putting a kitchen floor in.
Oh, kitchen floor.
Years ago.
Oh, we got a brand new kitchen over there now.
Holy.
The old studio for Black Swamp Radio no longer exists. There is a refrigerator in the spot where my computer used to be.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. You've really
has
changed.
Has it been that long?
It has been.
Yeah, that room is gone, and it's a kitchen. We got a great big kitchen in there now.
Nice.
And boy, the paranormal activity in the house really amped up. Well, we were redoing the kitchen, building the kitchen in there.
You probably expected it, though.
Fun. And I did expect it, but what I didn't expect was that my friend who lived across the street and down, because we got that pond that I used to tell you about across the street.
Yeah.
And the house that owned, the guy that owned the pond and the house across the street. We were decent friends, and one day he died.
Oh.
I didn't know that he died, and I had walked over there to show him a project. This is while my house was being redone. And I walked over there to show him a project. He was making the same kind of project. It was a motorcycle tank with a light in it that my buddy has now, and every time he turns his air compressor on, the light comes on to remind him the air compressor's on. That's what he uses it for. I walked over there, and the grass is like, it wasn't normal. The grass was this tall. The house was unkept. And I'm going, what the hell? And I get a tap on my shoulder. And he said, I'm dead.
No way.
Because we used to talk about paranormal shit all the time.
Yeah.
And he wanted to see if I was what I was. So he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, I'm dead. And I said, well, son of a bitch. About 4 hours later, I get confirmation that the guy is dead from somebody else that lives in town. And then he came over here. And he was running through the floor. It's just plywood at the time. And he's running across the floor. And it seemed like there was other people running across the floor, and the dogs would get all spooked. And I said, okay, I recognize you. I know who you are. If you want to stick around, fine. If not, then go about your business. And it's the last I ever heard of him.
Wow.
So now it's just the same old creatures, I guess, or people here. I live in a haunted house.
Yeah.
For those people out there that don't know, I live in a haunted house. And the woman that owned the house before us, she has passed now. And her husband, she's been married twice. They both passed. And they were here, and they were waiting on her. And then she passed, and it seemed like they disappeared. But it also feels like they're back from time to time. The ghost kitty I used to tell you about.
Yep.
It's around from time to time. And there was an incident, and I wrote about a short story about this kid before, a long time ago, 20, 25 years ago. The kid, you hear the train.
Yeah. The paranormal train.
The paranormal train. That's what Kat started. She started that one.
Yeah.
We've got tracks over here and that run all the way back. You hear it. But we've got the road here, and it's like a triangle.
Okay.
There's a road here and a road here. Well, at the time, there was just signals over here. And there wasn't any signals here. And for whatever reason, this late teenager, he's probably 18 years old, decided he was going to race down the road to try to beat the train. Well, he'd get right here to the corner, and he turned and he went this way to try to beat the train because it's coming from this direction. Mm-hmm. He got hit.
Oh,
He didn't make it, and he got.
damn.
There wasn't any crossing signals yet. Gates. There was no gates yet. So he went, and then the train hit him. He's still there, and for some reason, he thinks that I can get people to understand that he's still here, and he comes here and bothers me from time to time. I wrote about this. It's a short story. But that's basically the paranormal stuff going on here. I don't ghost hunt anymore. I don't hang around with the ghost hunting people anymore. Willow still tries to get me to go ghost hunting, and I just don't. It's not of interest to me.
How old is Willow now?
14.
Wow.
She's
Remember
14.
when she was wee? What happened?
Can you believe it? She's 14.
Good
And
grief.
she's all teenage attitude.
Probably takes that after you.
I might have helped a little bit.
Wow. Can't believe that. So does she want to get into investigating too?
She wants to, but she's 14.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Too
not
young.
going to take a 14-year-old into. I'm just not going to do it. I mean, that's. She sees all this crap on TikTok and YouTube, and they all make it look like it's fun. And I'm not going to get into anything. I'm not going to bash anybody. I'm not going to do this, that, and the other thing, other than say that 99% of it's all bullshit. So she needs to stay away from it for a while.
Yeah.
And she needs to learn how to protect herself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. For the longest time, my daughter wanted to come with us on investigation. I'm like, you're too young. And she goes, well, I really want to go. And I'm like, no, you don't have your shields up yet. You don't know how to protect yourself. You're not going. And now Yep.
She'll listen to her best friend's mom talk about spiritualist stuff all the time. But she won't learn from me.
Of course.
So, I mean, because, spiritualists do things altogether different. So when it comes to ghost hunting,
there's dangers.
One of these times, you bring something home with you and you don't know how to get rid of it. And,
And sometimes
it can be a nightmare.
It can. And sometimes you bring something home and you don't even know.
There was something in this room that I'm talking to you in. There was something here. After I got out of the hospital, and for a couple months, it smelled like something died and was rotting here. And finally, I got it to go. I have no idea what it was. At one point, I thought a squirrel had crawled up, into the attic and died. But this was way worse. It was putrid.
Maybe something followed you from the hospital?
I don't know. I was pretty fucked up when I came out of the hospital, man. I had a triple bypass, and I had the hallucinations that I was having towards the end of being released were absolutely insane. So, when you're in that kind of condition, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yep. Wow. Well, I'm glad you're okay now, and that was about a year ago, right?
That was about a year ago.
Yep. You're still kicking.
And I'm still kicking. And I don't recommend it for anybody else. I'm not telling anybody else what to do or what not to do. But I'm not on any medication. The doctor basically got pissed off and told me, I'd go ahead and go home 2 days ago. Because I refuse to take medication. And I could go into reason why, but I'm not going to even bother to do that because I don't want to influence anybody in any direction.
Gotcha. Yep. A lot of times the medications that they want to prescribe cause side effects, and then you have to take. Then you have to take medication for those side effects, which causes side effects, and then like it's a vicious circle.
Well, think about your liver. Your liver, and it's trying to process all this different medication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At some point, your liver is going to go because it can't handle the medication. And then you've got a whole new can of worms you got to deal with.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Well, you look good.
Well, I always look good.
You're still the crotchety old self.
Yes, I am. Always will be.
Good. Don't change.
I can't help it.
Good. You tell it like it is. I like that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So for the listeners who might not know, how did the paranormal start for you? Was it something from a child? Yeah. Was it like something from your childhood? Or is it just an interest that you had?
Which story do you want me to tell you about?
Pick one.
Pick one.
What's your earliest paranormal encounter that you remember having?
Oh, well, that would have been when I was a teenager. But I don't even remember half of that. So,
okay, well, mention something else.
The Collingwood Arts Center. We'll go with the Collingwood Arts Center. Yeah, I'm my friend. The Collingwood Arts Center is something that was built at the beginning of the 1900s, and it became owned by what's the word? Well, Catholics bought it.
Okay.
And the nuns stayed in it. What do you call it? What would you call that?
Convent or
convent?
Okay.
It became like a convent, and the nuns were there, and the priest was there on doing his business there a lot of the time. Well, lo and behold, the human trafficking went back through there. The kids who became orphans because of their parents being killed, or one was already dead, and the father ended up going to war and for World War I. And one way or another, reason or another, these kids became orphaned, and the children's home had not been built yet. So they had all these kids and didn't know what to do with them. The kids ended up staying with the nuns in the Collingwood Arts Center. There is no record of this. But if you talk to some people who are old enough to remember, they will tell you about it. And I was walking, I was like 25 or something, and I'm walking, I got my boom box. I left my friend's house who lives, over by there, and I'm walking down the street, and I look up, and there's two children that are up on a roof of the front building of the Collingwood Arts Center. And they were talking to me, and I talked to them and told them that I was going to tell the nuns if they didn't get back into in the windows, because it was like almost 3 stories up. If they fell, they were going to die. So, they said, "Oh, do what you want." And I walked up to the door, and I knocked on the door, and a nun came out, and I told the nun, and the nun told me there hadn't been any kids there for years.
Wow.
Now, here's the clincher. Okay. After this event happened, I walked back over to my friend's house, and he said there hadn't been any nuns living in that place for 10 years.
Wow. So
the kids were full. The kids were full apparition.
Mm-hmm.
The nun was a full apparition.
Wow.
So that starts you off on that kind of thing. And then there was the incident at the Secor Hotel. It's in downtown Toledo. And I was homeless at the time because my daughter had died. My other one was taken. And so I was homeless. And I'm not going to go through a bunch of shit. I was homeless, and it was wintertime, and I was cold, and Ohio Bell had their store inside the Secor at the time. It was in the early 80s. And I walked in, to get warm. And there's the little girl sitting on the steps, and she's talking to me. And then the security guard comes around and asks me what I'm doing. And I said, I'm talking to this little girl, and she's not there. She's gone. Now, me and you can talk later about that incident. I don't remember if you read that story or not.
Yep.
You read that.
Yep.
Then there's a lot more to the story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot more. If you want to know what that book will be out next month. It's called Twisted Life. Time Slips, Reality Shifts, and Aliens. That book will be out next month, or supposed to be, at least in ebook format. And you can find out who that little girl is. Okay. Because I'm not going to go into it here because...
Well, people have to read the book.
You got to read the book.
Yeah.
95% of everything in that book is real.
Yep. So what made you decide to write books?
I had just quit working for Conrail, and I was hanging out with the Rocky Horror Group, and I was in the occult and all that, and I decided to write a book. So I started writing it, and I took the characters come from people that I hung out with, from Rocky Horror, and it just grew into something that ended up taking me 20 years to write because of life and because of working and moving to Sedona and moving back here and up in Minnesota and all the other places that I was. It just took a long time to write the thing. But I've always been into mythology. I've got degrees in religion and Sumerian.
I didn't know
religion that. And I've got PhD in the occult, and PhD in religion, majoring in the occult and Sumerian and other mythologies and things like that. I know I told you about that.
Oh, well, remember before we started recording, I told you how bad my memory is lately, so you might have.
Well, it's also been, been 3 years or something since I've even talked with you.
I think so.
Because the last time we were going to get together and have a podcast, things ended up not working.
Yep.
And then I couldn't do it after that because I had drama going on in the house. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, you're an interesting guy because you've had all these paranormal experiences. You were an investigator with what was it, Toledo? What was it called?
I was not an investigator.
You weren't
there. I was there with them at Collingwood Art Center in when we went up in the attic. That one time, I was, two Ghost Hunters was with me, or I was with them when we were up there, and I've had two Ghost Hunters and Haunted Toledo and all that on my show several times. But I'm not an investigator.
Oh, I thought you were. Okay.
No, I've never been an investigator. I've done my own investigations.
Yeah.
But I'm not a paranormal investigator.
Okay. Yeah, and then you had a radio show, Black Swamp Digital Radio. That was awesome.
Digital Radio. Yeah.
Loved that show. Met a lot of met a lot of great people there. And we were mentioning earlier before we recorded that because I'm narrating some books now, it's because of you that I got my start with narration pretty much because I used to do the weird news for your show.
Weird news.
Yeah.
I wanted her to do stupid news, but she's doing weird news instead. Which was all fine and good. I mean, she did a good job at that.
Thank you.
And
I was so nervous.
She co-hosted with me a couple of times, I think, and she decided she wanted to do her own podcast, and I was on my way out of radio at the time. And she wanted to do that, which was just fine with me. I wished her the best of luck, because I got sick of the drama, and that's all I'm really going to get into about paranormal radio and paranormal podcasts and the drama inside the fields and inside the between radio station owners, and I got sick of it, and I wasn't going to deal with it anymore, and I really don't miss it. Really, I don't.
Well, we miss you. You had a good show.
Well, that was well and good for the 3 or 4 fans I still have.
I'm sure there's more than that. Come on. Oh, geez. Yeah, so then you had the Black Swamp Digital Radio, and then getting into books. This is amazing.
Well, I needed something to do. I mean, I don't play music anymore because my arthritis in my hands.
Oh.
So I stopped playing music, and I needed something to do, especially in the wintertime, because I don't have all the stuff out in the yard to do, or I can't go on a bike ride, and take the motorcycle down to do the back of the dragon or anything like I've done. So, writing is, you do a couple 1,000 words a day, and then you can say you did something other than clean house.
Yeah. Housework can be dangerous too.
What
I know.
What do you call a house full of spiders?
Oh God,
no
what?
Fly zone.
Bump.
I had to throw that stupid joke in there.
Oh, jeepers. So why don't you tell us some about a little bit about your books, like the first one?
Okay, well, the first one, Immortals Among Us, Life as a Human, is all about immortals who are pretending to be mortal, pretending to be witches so they can hide their magic, and walking amongst humans without getting noticed. They have the same kind of drama in their lives as humans have in their lives. And I can't really say a whole lot about the book without giving spoilers.
Oh, exactly,
and, there's abduction in the book, where one of the characters' girlfriends gets abducted. And there's a mortal who ends up becoming immortal because of a situation that arises in life. And basically, there was no other choice in the matter than because she ended up in this situation where they couldn't do anything but welcome her in. And then there's Twisted Life, which is the time travel book. And I'm working on a book of short stories, short, scary stories. And I'm working on another time travel book, and I'm working on the second book to Immortals Among Us, which is Immortal Apocalypse. So it's the Immortals eye view of what takes place during the apocalypse and how the immortals deal with the situations that are taking place. And so there's lies and deceit, and I threw the lizard species in there. So the lizard species that, the conspiracy of them being in the government and them being in the military and all the whole 9 yards. And there's UFOs in there. And that's about as far as I'm only 25,000 words into that book right now. But it's action-packed. You won't be bored reading it. I try to make all my books so you're not bored reading them. There's always something going on.
Do you plan on having like the Immortal series? Like, do you plan on having a lot more books?
So there's only going to be 2 books to that series, unless a friend of mine who got me my publisher. Now she read the book, And she says after she's done it, she writes zombie books, zombie novels, and horror novels and things like that. She said she was considering taking up my genre, which is fantasy sci-fi, and writing about immortals the same way.
Maybe the two of you could work together on a book.
I don't know. But I forgot you asked me what influenced me about that book. Rogers Ainsley. I believe that's how I would have to maybe send you the last name. But he's got a really weird last name. He did he did several novels, but he had a series, the Amber series. And that was all about the same thing. Basically, the immortals that walk the face of the earth, and they live in another world too. So that's where I got the idea to go with that. You know, he wrote that, but he wrote that in the 70s. You know, the Chronicles of Amber. There's 12 books in that series. And the thing about
have to look
that author is that he hung out with one of the same covens I did, or I was affiliated with, which my Reiki master was part of too, and I didn't find this out until after the high priestess died. Coven down in Louisiana, Coven of the Licorice Unicorn, and so he wrote all about that coven. And but I didn't know anything about this until after I read the books and said something to them. They said, "Oh yeah, well, we're kind of famous because of this."
I'm going to have to really look into those books because it's giving you the inspiration to write yours. So, any similarities?
Other than the use of the way they use some of the magic in the books, no. There's no similarities. There's no way I want to be compared, or and somebody's not going to say, "Oh, you stole his work." It's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to be known for you standing on your own legs.
For me.
Yep.
If my stuff sucks, it's because I made it suck.
No, you got great stories. I've always liked because I had read a couple of years ago. I was editing a little bit while I was back in college and loved the stories. You're a good storyteller.
Well, that's with plenty of editing involved.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Man. The editing. I'm curious, though. I would like to hear some of your work, your audio work.
Oh, okay.
If you've got a clip you want to send.
Yeah, I might be able to send you the book. I had to tell my parents and my in-laws, do not get the book. And they're like, why? I'm like, because there's lots of sex scenes in there, and I don't feel comfortable you guys listening to me narrating that.
Don't send me the book, because I'll tell you, don't send me the book, because I've got, Angel sent me part of the book that he's working on, because he wants me to look at it.
Yeah.
And another author friend of mine sent me part of her book that she's working on, wants me to read it. And I've got my stuff, and then I've got all this other stuff going on. So, it's going to be a fucking year and a half before I get to hear it.
Maybe I'll send you a chapter.
So send me a clip, a couple pages or something. A chapter or whatever.
Each chapter is about 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
So I can, if you want
Each of my short stories are from 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, or something like that. I don't think there's anything longer than 15 at the moment.
And the short stories will be coming after what you're working on now?
Yeah, because I'm still working on them. I mean, I've got like 20 short stories, which equals to a pamphlet.
Okay.
You want the book to be a book. So you want it to be, let's see, my publisher said 40,000 words,
Okay.
So.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the short stories are without giving away too much information?
This would be a perfect month to introduce that. So they're all scary, spooky, thriller type of stories, paranormal, that kind of thing.
And where did you get your inspiration for that?
Look for actual events for one. Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes you're just sitting there and you have a story pull out of your butt, so. Oh, I could write about this. And then it morphs into something that you didn't even realize that's what you were going to write about.
I've toyed with the idea of writing a book for the past few years, but I don't know. I don't think I haven't found the inspiration yet.
Well, when you start writing, then you keep at it. Some days it's going to be like pulling teeth. And some days it's just going to flow and flow and flow and flow. So it's just like anything else. 1,000 words a day. That's what you dedicate yourself. 1,000 words a day is 2 pages. Basically, it's 2 pages. And so anybody can write 2 pages. Because 500 words isn't enough it doesn't hold enough juice. So go for 1,000 words.
Gotcha.
And if you write 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 words that day, then you do. But you go with 1,000 words. I'm not going to write any less than 1,000 words. And you do it every day. And then if you need to take a break for a couple of days, and you take your weekend or whatever days that you decide that you're going to set aside to do something else. Because sometimes you got to free your mind up from all that. But once you get into a story, you go to sleep thinking about the damn thing, and you wake up, you're thinking about it.
Do you have pad and paper next to your bed, so if you wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, you write something down?
No, I just go and stick it on the computer. Walk into the old studio where the old studio used to be.
Yeah.
Get on the laptop.
So you have a laptop now, because I remember you had so many issues with the computers that you had.
Oh, I did.
I think that was one of the reasons why you'd stopped the show, too, because you had so many issues with the computer.
Yeah. That computer's still sitting right here by the table leg.
So it's still kicking.
But it's still sitting there. There's stuff on it I don't want to get rid of, so
okay.
It's still sitting there. But
That's funny. Yeah, because I remember how frustrated you were. Oh.
Yeah, I'd be cussing my ass off.
Yep. I totally relate. I remember I'm on my second laptop since I started the show, and because my other one, it died on me. I brought it into the shop to see what they could do, and they said the processor died, and it was going to cost like $400 to replace. And then plus the installment fee. And I thought, screw that, I'm just going to buy a new one. So our mutual friend Brian Anderson, I kept asking him, help me out. Because I was doing narrating the book too. So I needed to have a reliable laptop, something with a good processor. So he helped me out with choosing one.
I haven't talked to him in years.
He's still kicking.
Yeah.
Still traveling, work,
still
narrating. He does a lot of narrating.
Well, if he can make a living at it, then that's fine. My publisher makes a living out of writing. She said she's not rich, but she's making a living at writing. And it's like, well, if you can make a living out of something that you enjoy, then so be it. Do it.
I just wish I could make a living out of my podcast. I don't make any money. It's a labor of love.
I wouldn't worry about making any money on your podcast. Focus on your audio for now.
Yeah.
That will give you the opportunity and open the doors for you to do the rest of the stuff you want to do. At least in
Never
my
thought of that.
opinion, whatever it's
Yeah.
worth.
There's very few people that I know who are podcasters that actually make a living out of it. So,
Oh yeah, I don't know how they're not paranormal podcasters. I know that. I don't know.
yeah.
I guess the money's in true crime podcasting or something like that.
Yeah, that seems to be the big thing now.
A lot of people like the true crime podcasting. It's like, and that's what Willow listens to.
That's what my daughter listens to.
Fucking morning. I wake up, my alarm. I got like Pink Floyd on my to wake up, and as soon as I shut that off, and she opens the door to her room, there's this woman podcaster going blah 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 every fucking morning. It's like,
When my daughter's watching TV, my husband walks in and he'll say, "Is it paranormal or murder?" Or no, he says, "Is it ghost or murders?" Because she likes the paranormal stuff and she likes just true crime. She just loves those shows.
yeah. I don't know if sometimes people listen to that stuff and you gotta watch it because they're just trying to figure out how to hide the bodies.
Yeah. Yep. That's what we jokingly say that to our daughter. Like, are you trying to get some tips here? Should we be worried?
Yeah.
Because these shows pretty much teach you how many apple seeds you need to be able to make arsenic from, and it's just like, specific amounts. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want you watching.
I said, I have a wood. I do. I got a wood chipper back there, but she's not strong enough to start it.
So can you tell us the weirdest paranormal encounter you've had, whether it's ghosts or aliens or whatever? What's the strangest thing you've ever encountered?
I have no clue. They're all kind of messed up, man.
Or something that stands out in your mind the most?
Something that stands out in my mind the most. Well, I don't know. I really don't. Other than the fact that lately, you hear all this stuff about shifting realities, and you hear all this stuff about how the vibrations are being raised and all this kind of new age crap that I don't buy into. But at the same time, I've been seeing a lot of stuff out of the corners of my eyes, or I will see someone from a different time period around here that, shouldn't be here. Or where I'm at, I can look directly in when she has the door open and the light on. The neighbor, she's probably 50 yards away. But she'll open her door because it's warm enough to do that and leave it open to let her dog out, and the light will be on. And her husband is close to death. And there is someone standing in her four-way there, looking at him every single night. I see him. I've told her about that. I see him every single night. But if you walk over there and look to see what it is, it's just a wall. But you see the head, and you see the hair, and you see the white gown from where I am, or I can be standing outside the window here on the other side of the wall, and I can look that way. But I can see every single night. I see, and it knows that I see, and it doesn't care, and it's waiting for my neighbor's husband his stubborn ass to finally go bye-bye.
What does she say to that when you tell her?
She doesn't doubt me. She doesn't doubt me.
And they've never seen it or sensed it or admitted it?
No, she's not seen it. She's seen some pretty weird stuff. She's turned me on to stuff. She's the one that told me about the kid at the tracks. She told me about the kid at the tracks. She told me, there's another story I wrote about where my friend died across the street I told you about. Before he had the property, the guy killed his kids and his wife and then cut his head off with a chainsaw in the front yard.
Oh.
How do you cut your head off with a chainsaw? Completely off. Not just, the chainsaw dying right there because you cut it completely off. But he killed he killed his wife and he killed his kids inside the house. And then he cut his chain. They used to have all kinds of different bones all over the yard, The guy also killed his dog because he wanted the skull.
Holy cow.
So, there's all kinds of weird, strange, gory crap that's happened around here.
Any idea why? Have you ever looked into
swamp. It's the Black Swamp. This, where I'm at right here, was swamp. I am sitting in what used to be swamp. Until I drained it. So there's all kinds of dark magic.
Any idea why the swamp is I don't want to say creating, but causing all of this?
Because it wants to take itself back, from what I can understand. Now, the swamp was here for a reason, and the white man decided to drain it. I don't know. I just know that swamps hold energies that you can't find anywhere else. If you take the main road, which is that way, probably, it's only one block, but it's a country block, so it's more like 10 blocks that way.
Yeah.
And you take the main road and you go down 4 miles to where the old Woodville Mall used to be. Before then, and it's documented by several different people, and the Smithsonian came out and took the bones, but there was mounds with Bigfoot. There was Bigfoot mounds there, and the Smithsonian came out and took the skeletons, and then said,
the Bigfoot skeletons. Wow, are they on display?
I don't imagine.
No, I didn't think so. No.
Mm-mm. But they came out and took it because there was people from the university that were out there first, and they called the government people, Smithsonian people. The Smithsonian came out and never heard anything about it again. So there's all kinds of crap that goes on around here.
Wow. Paranormal train.
Yeah.
You had a catchphrase after I mentioned the paranormal train. I can't remember what it was. Do you?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, me neither. I have to see if we still have those photos. Sorry, folks. I'm going to wait till the train goes by here.
I'm sorry about the train horn, but that was part of my show. Between that and the crickets. Yep. That was part of my show, and one of the reasons that people listened to it was because that fucking train would always interrupt.
Wow. Yeah, every time I hear that, even now, if I'm driving someplace and I hear a train, I think paranormal train.
I had forgot about the paranormal train until you said something. Yeah.
Did you really? Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember I had started, I created on Canva or whatever, a little logo of it, and then you improved on it, and you had an actual logo of the paranormal train. It looked really, it was like a spooky train.
I remember it was really cool. This computer sitting on the floor right here. It's
nice.
On that hard drive somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Had 666 on it or something.
Yep, something like that, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah. Wow. It's nice reminiscing with you. The listeners are probably like, what are they going on about? But
well, this is the second podcast I've been on this year.
Is it really?
Had me on his podcast for a while.
Nice.
And then I forget who it was. Somebody was trying to talk me into doing podcasts again for a while. And I think it was Brian. Mm-hmm.
Bowden? Yeah.
Trying to talk me into doing podcasts.
I think you were going to start up again, and then you decided not to.
It just didn't work. Either you got it in you or you don't. So
Yeah.
if you don't care about it anymore, then don't do it. And I don't care about it anymore.
Jim Mallard, our buddy, when I first started the show, he said, if you get more than 5 episodes in, you know you're going to keep at it. And until you're not having any fun anymore, keep doing it.
Whom I have not heard from in years either. I haven't heard from Ducky in years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I still duck into the pond every once in a while if I'm not working, because a lot of times I'm working Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but he's still kicking. Still quacking.
Quack, quack, yeah.
He doesn't just do paranormal anymore. He does pretty much anything that he finds interesting. So it could be talking to some ambassador to some country, could be a celebrity, an author, like anybody. Like whatever he thinks is interesting, he'll have on his show, and it works.
Cool.
Yeah. I'll have to get him in touch with you again.
If he wants to. I don't know. I don't know that I'm up to doing a lot of podcasts, so my publisher wants me to do a lot of podcasts.
To get the books out, yeah.
I'm under the assumption that money talks, bullshit walks, so I need to pay for my advertising and spots and not worry about the podcast thing too often because, don't get me wrong, I appreciate everybody that's out there listening to me right now, but I know there's only like one of you that's going to even bother to look me up.
Well, maybe you'll be surprised. I have some pretty good listeners.
Well, I do know they won't be bored if they're into that kind of thing.
You're definitely not a boring person.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be boring.
Any other paranormal things you want to talk about?
No, I got nothing really to talk about paranormal anymore. So I might be doing something for Halloween, but I don't know. The grandkid is at that age where if she does go trick or treating, I'm not going to be going with her because I'm an old guy, and I'm gross. I'm an old guy, and she's that 14-year-old teenager that has to be with her friends and doesn't want anything to do with anybody else that's not under the age of 18. So, how children are.
It's tough. Oh, yes. I remember the first year my kids went trick-or-treating without me. I cried after they left the door, left the house. It's like they're going with their friends and I'm not with them.
I remember the first year I went trick-or-treating with Willow. And it started pouring down rain. And, it wasn't the first year. I think it was the second year. But it started pouring down rain, and I ended up having to pick her up in my arms, and we went trick-or-treating that way for a couple of times until I couldn't deal with it anymore, and then we went home. And it was cold. That October cold, rainy, windy shit.
Yep.
So
I remember when I was a kid, I used to have to put a snowsuit over my Halloween costume, which I hated because I loved my costume and I had to cover it up. And now, we were talking earlier, it was like 94 degrees just yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's like, where's the snow?
Well,
what the hell?
We don't see snow down here at Halloween. At least we haven't in 40 years. But usually it's cold and it's raining. That's the normal for Halloween. So
adds to the creep factor.
A
cold, drizzly night.
A cold, drizzly night.
Ow. Well, my friend, before we sign off, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find your books and where they can find you?
Well, basically, you can find me anywhere I want to be. But okay.
Which is?
You can find me on Facebook. Just look up Paul Ieson, Ieson. That's how you spell my last name. Or you can look me up on Amazon. by my name. My author name is Paul Ieson. And you can find my books there. Right now, it's supposed to be out in paperback this week, but it's not there yet. So it's still just on Kindle. And it's only $3.99. Or it's free with that Kindle book deal thingy, whatever you got there.
Yeah.
And but I have another book coming out within the next month or so. And so you can find me on Facebook or on Amazon. I don't do Instagram is kind of touchy because I never get on Instagram, and I don't do Twitter or anything like that. So
Okay. Cool. And you folks already know what I'm going to say. I'll be adding the links in the show notes, so it'll be easier to find Paul and where to find his books. He just stuck his tongue out. You can't see that, but
yeah.
Still the sassy old bugger.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
thank you so much, Paul. I really, it was great catching up.
Well, it was.
We have to not wait so long.
Right. You got to stop acting like you're too busy for me anymore.
Oh, message me anytime. Well, not in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Still
come over and
saucy.
sit on my lap for a while.
Thanks so much, Paul. You take care.
Too. All right, I'll see you. Bye.
Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions and comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to PurplePlanet.com for supplying the music for the show. The views and opinions expressed on Paranormal Heart are those of the host and participants.
Paranormal Heart Podcast.